Catch the latest news on our website tribune.net.ph and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tribune Now. The Daily Tribune is one with the nation in facing the COVID-19 crisis, and in line with this, the Daily Tribune digital edition and press reader is now available for free online. You can also download the Daily Tribune app on Apple Store for iOS users and Google Play for Android users to get the latest and most comprehensive news online. Daily Tribune is also inviting everyone to join its community Viber Katribu to get updates on the freshest and hottest news and entertainment stories of the day. Tarcito emoticons are also available on our community Viber. Just click on the link in this video to join.
What is up mga katribu, and welcome to another live episode of the Athletes Tribune. This is your host Ian Suyu, joined by my co-host Mr. David Cubangbang, and our tonight's guest host, all the way from España with the yellow press, Tina Maralit.
Hi, good evening everybody.
Hello.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Good evening sa ating mga katribu. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yes, of course.
Yes naman, of course. And why did I mention that? Because our tonight's guest is highly anticipated as one of the top choices for the coaching job of the embattled University of Santo Tomas. No other than the greatest import, perhaps greatest import that ever stepped to the PBA court, a six-time PBA champion and definitely a Alaska legend himself, Mr. 100%, Mr. Sean Chambers.
Woo! Good evening, Sean.
Hi, Sean. I like your shirt.
Yeah.
I like your shirt there.
Thank you.
First of all, we know, it's really, really early there, so we don't know if you haven't slept yet or if you really had to like set your alarm way ahead of time for you to join us. But nevertheless, thank you so much.
It's just an honor to be here and have you guys have me on. So I'm really grateful to be here. So I actually went to sleep for a little bit and woke up about 2 o'clock to make sure I can join you guys and be able to talk to some of my fans and friends back in the Philippines and let them know what's going on with me right now. So, Madami Salamat.
Wow.
You're always welcome, Sean.
So who's going to fire the first question?
Ian.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna drop the question this early.
Yes.
I think everyone here knows what's going on with the UST and controversy surrounding them. And Sean, you know, we all know that you're applying for the job of the head coach. And how are you planning to rebuild this embattled team?
I think we start first and foremost with the Tiger Nation. You know, you got to come back to what they're used to be about. Get a bunch of young men who are supportive for the university, young men that want to play for the university, young men who want to represent the university in battles. but then also reach out to your alumni and your support staff, and just really get the alumni nation to come back and be supportive of the program like it used to be back in the 90s when I was there with Coach Oddick. When I was there with Alaska, I was a frequent visitor with UST, going to the games and going to practices and learning a lot about the Philippine culture when I was younger days playing with Alaska. And then once you get the right guys in there, you got to be able to empower them. Start with discipline, and first and foremost, we are an institution of higher learning, so education has to be the forefront in developing young men into great men.
That's very well said. And I know one of our hosts here is very much excited to ask some questions about the UST.
The floor is yours.
Which house is that? Which house are you referring to? No, yeah, but I'm just very curious to ask this question to Sean, because I understand now you're coaching in the States and you're also an educator, right? So these are student athletes. So for you as an educator and as a coach, where do you draw the line? Like, when do you step in when your players are not performing up to par in terms of their academics or on the court? Like, is winning really everything? Is the winning at all cost mentality the way to go?
What you have to do, what you have to be as a leader of a program, a leader of a team, and a leader of a school of higher learning, as a dean of students, we put integrity over everything. So you cannot win at all costs. You must do everything with a higher level of integrity, and winning will come with that later on. And we talk accountability. When people say that accountability and high expectations, what does that mean? Accountability not only for your players, your staff, your coaching staff, but also for yourself. If you're going to be a leader of a program, you must lead by an example. You must hold yourself accountable. And my entire career, from high school to college to the PBA to now my career as an educator, have been extremely successful. And I think because it starts with me first, holding myself accountable, and then everybody else follows in line. So if you're a leader, you must lead by an example. Winning will take care of itself if you do things right. And I would really put that on my players and my staff. We have to set an example on and off the court at all times.
So you mentioned earlier about Coach Eric Del Rosario, a well-loved figure in the UST community then, and even now that he has passed on. I'm sure he told you a lot of stories back in the day, and I'm sure you've witnessed him win championships with UST, 4 straight championships with UST. So what was it like? What would he tell you back then?
So again, one of the things that I learned the most in the Philippines about honor, doing things the right way, being a good citizen on and off the court, and really appreciating the Filipino culture. A lot of that came from Coach Oddick. Coach Tim is about five years older than me, and Coach Chot that I played with, they were, not too much older than me. They're more like big brothers. Like big brothers that gave me great guidelines and structure. But a lot of my friends and family in the Philippines know that I grew up without my father in my life. So once I got to the Philippines, Coach Oddick really took me under his wing and really treated me like I was his own son, like I was part of his family. So I was able to be a part of all those championships in the 90s, and actually be at the celebration and be at the games and witness the amazing support that UST got back in the day. So when I started looking at positions in the past in the Philippines, this is the first one that actually felt naturally right. It felt like this is an opportunity that I feel that it could have God's blessings on this one. Who don't know? They may or may not entertain my letter, but I do feel in my heart this is the right one out of other situations that came up before.
You guys seem so starstruck that you
Yes,
can
of
barely
course.
talk or whatever. Don't be shy, you can ask questions.
So here's my question. You mentioned of being a leader, and for you to lead a team, you need your members for the team. So are you thinking?
Has no more players.
Yes, of course. And for your coaching staff, are you thinking of putting up or calling in your Alaska teammates before, like Jojo
To help out if
Lastimosa,
ever.
Barrientos, and everything. Are you think of them as your coaching staff? If ever you're gonna get that lead in UST?
I would absolutely entertain my teammates, because you must trust your staff.
Yes.
You must have a staff that's 100% supportive of you. But I played with over 200, 250 guys in the Philippines during my visit. I mean, really, I started in the 90s and finished in 2001. So all my teammates, I have just the utmost respect and love for them. I've never had a bad relationship with any of my teammates, and we are still close today as brothers. So I will start with that, because they're gonna lift you up when you're down, and they're gonna make sure you don't get too high, and they're gonna make sure that you stay even keel as a coach. And you gotta have guys that you absolutely trust 100% without question in your corner. And that would be my desire, my dream, And I know those are some of the things I would have to learn with the collegiate game in the Philippines, how to manage your staff and your roster.
I see. He's truly Mr. 100%
So he's
with
gonna
that.
give it
Yes.
100% also.
So,
Talaga.
talaga.
Okay, hire this guy. He talks
Oh my
Tagalog.
gosh.
Hire this guy now.
Thank you for that. No, so let's go back to your 1996 Grand Slam
Yes.
with
Were you even
Alaska.
born?
That was the year I was born, though. So, so among
That
all
was a
of
great year there.
yeah, among those championship, what is the most memorable one for you?
The Grand Slam obviously will always stand out as one of the best moments in my life. Winning that, and first of all, in success, you have to dream things in order for them to become reality. And I dreamed after my first year in the Philippines in 1989, I saw San Miguel win a Grand Slam. And I was like, from then on, my whole goal was to be part of the Grand Slam. But the unique part of it all, I had this dream that I would be the import for both tournaments. And things happened and transpired when I ended up playing and finishing out the Commissioner's Cup, and then came back in and won our 5th straight Governor's Cup championship to win the Grand Slam. But with that said, there's still nothing like your first championship. So when we beat Ginebra in 1991, that was my first PBA championship, and today that is still the greatest moment of my basketball career.
Very well said.
So, okay, I just have to butt in again.
Oh, sure.
So, okay, so for basketball fans, whether they're rooting for or against Alaska, no conversation about PBA reinforcements, past or present, is complete without mentioning Sean Chambers. So how does it feel like that you remain to be a barometer of what PBA imports should be to this day, like a little over 2 decades since you last played a PBA game?
Right. How do I put that in words? I don't think words can express the level of the honor I feel from. I'm humbled by it. I'm always surprised that the Filipinos have continued to endure me and appreciate my career in the Philippines the way they did. And I know I did things the right way, and I know that I honored the country, and I honored the PBA, and I honored the Philippine culture the right way. But I did not envision that it was going to lead to this kind of admirations 20 years later. But I am humbled by it, and I'm beyond love my second home. I don't look at the Philippines as a country, as a foreign country. I look at it, that is my second home. And a lot of times I feel most the love from in that country than I do sometimes here in the United States.
Ian, I guess you have a question?
Yeah, anyway, Sean, just for the record, you have already submitted your letter of intention to the UST management, right?
Yes, I have.
Yes. And given all this controversy surrounding UST, do you think that, well, this might be a sensitive question, but do you think the indefinite ban that was given to Coach Aldin Ayo was enough for as a consequence for the team, for the squad?
I don't wish any real ill on anybody. We are all human and we all make mistakes and we can all learn from them. So my wish is that, he learns and he grows from this and comes back a better and stronger leader. But we as individual humans, we should never wish anything to last as a lifetime situation. We want him to be able to bounce back and learn from it. I don't know Coach. I met him once in passing a couple of years ago at a UAP game, but really, I really wish he bounced back and learn from the situation and be better, and also be a better role model for him as well for younger kids coming up.
Okay. Go.
Okay, so Ms. Tina and David.
I'm still starstruck, so I'm still thinking of what to ask him next.
Oh, wait, I'll just ask the question first. Mr. Sean Chambers, is it true back in 2017 that you expressed interest to handle the UST Tigers?
As early as 2017. Wow.
Well, I knew 2017 that it was coming up and the position was open, and I was interested, but it didn't feel right at that time. So a couple of things so you guys can know, like, that's different now than it was in 2017 than actually in 2000. I think it was about 2012, or I had an opportunity to possibly take over or be a consultant for one of the teams in the PBA. And but at that time, my kids were extremely young. Now my daughter is 17 on her way to college. That makes things a lot easier now. My son is now a sophomore, going to be a sophomore in high school. So now that my kids are up in age, they're almost young adults. So now this gives me an opportunity to really entertain a position in the Philippines that was a little bit challenging before, like 8-9 years ago, and even 2 years ago. And also going back to my school as the dean of students, we really take pride in our school. You know, our school is one of the lowest performing school in education in the state of California. We were able to transform our school into being one of the most highest gaining middle school in the state, where we have transformed a school in a very tough neighborhood in Sacramento and brought education at the forefront, and we made teaching and learning the most important part of that school. And now our kids are striving, and we are having kids from 8 years ago now graduating from colleges in California.
So we still have a
There was
lot to...
different time and place. Yeah, there was different times and place at that time. And now, like I said, in my heart, this feels right. You know, this feels like the right time to try to make that move over there.
Okay, so we still have a lot to ask Sean Chambers, and we have a lot of shout-outs coming.
Yes.
But before that, we're going to take a short break. Please do stay with us. Athletes Tribune will be right back.
Click, click, that's it. Never thought self-service can be this slick. Modify plans in a snap, walang hirap, it's a wrap. Just tap the app. Now you can check, view, subscribe, renew. Help and support for you. Out with the Ring Ring apps or the in thing, you know what to do. Globe at home and Globe One, all in the Globe app na yan. Self-service and easy to use, mas okay tayo dyan. Globe at home and Globe One, all in the Globe app na yan. Instant response, no hold time pa, wala nang hintayan. Download Globe at Home and Globe One app, all in the Globe app na yan. Download the Globe One and Globe at Home apps from Google Play Store and Apple App Store now. Download Globe at Home and Globe One app, all in the Globe app na yan.
And welcome back to the Athletes Tribune. Once again, I'm Tina Maralit, your guest host for tonight, along with the Pogi mainstays, Ian Suyu and David Cubangbang. So, Sean, I just gotta ask this. You know, college coaches here in the Philippines, if I guess we're going to compare them somewhere else, like in the States, they don't make as much. So, did you ever thought about that? Like, was that even a consideration? Money.
Not at all. Not at all. If it's meant to be, it'll work itself out. And yeah, no, I didn't even think about compensation. I haven't thought about what they do not pay as a college coach. Is those things will work itself out. And if you're coaching for the love of the game, those things will work itself out. But you know, my ideal is to come over there and make the game fun for the kids, let them have a great time, and again, represent the university to the highest, fullest level.
So I can see how much of an influence really Coach Eric had on you, huh?
Of course.
You're a Tomasian by
Tomasian
yeah,
by blood.
Yeah.
by affiliation.
If you're coaching for the financial aspect, then you're in it for the wrong reason. Because once you start getting paid, forget about it. You won't have the same work ethic. You won't have the same drive. You won't have the same determination to be great. And I think a lot of times that happens to coaches once they start making their money. Just like a PBA, some players in the NBA and PBA. Once you make your money, you don't have that same fight and desire and drive. Those things will work itself out. Financial things will work itself out. But if you're coaching and you want to be great at what you do at your craft, it has to be a work of love. It's got to be what you want to do as a because you love what you do, and those things financially will always work itself out.
You have questions?
Okay.
Questions?
Mr. Sean, I'm just gonna ask this one first. Among all the frontliners for the coaching staff, what do you think is your advantage
Over the other applicants.
among other applicants?
Man, I know a lot of those coaches, Siad, and a lot of the coaches out there. I saw their names out there. I know a lot of those guys and some of those guys I played with and against, and they coached against me in my career days. So those guys are great guys, and they bring a lot to the table, no doubt about it, because they know the recruiting aspect of that in the Philippines. Now, what I do think that that I'm good at is that I know my X and O's, and I know basketball like crazy. And I'm not saying that they don't, but it's just what I do. Leadership skills are, as I was talking about with being a dean of students, have really made me a better coach. Once I became a school leader and had to lead by example and lead by using educational terminology and having people to think more and use their minds instead of just working and playing basketball, I became a better coach because now I was able to have my players think at a higher level and really develop a higher basketball IQ. So that was one of the things that made me such a better coach when I first started. And then also my connection here in the United States to be able to bring, I'm wearing my Phil Am Nation shirt.
Yeah, represent.
Working with guys like Chris, representing my buddy Chris out here in California. But I work with a lot of the young, Filipino kids here in Sacramento alone. And then across Canada, Chris got a good thing going, and Chris got a good thing going out in Southern California with Phil Am Nation. And our goal is we're constantly, I tell you all the time, in Sacramento, I'm telling all the Filipino kids, go to the Philippines and play basketball. You absolutely love it. If you get a chance where you can go back to your to the Philippines and be part of the UAAP or the NCAA, you will absolutely love your experience in college basketball in the Philippines. I tell people this all the time. It's even more exciting the college game in the Philippines than it is here in the United States. Like the Duke crazies are nothing like the games that you will see at the UAP, especially in the Final Four. Nothing like it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Given this, given this statement of yours, if ever you get the position to be the head coach of UST, you're really leaning towards recruiting players rather than the grassroots or local talents here in the Philippines?
My first foremost would always be I want grassroots talent, but we would look to get some Phil-Ams to kind of help support that. As my playing days, I would always say, this is the PBA, this is the Philippine Basketball Association, this is not the American Basketball Association. So I always thrive in making sure my teammates got more public or more the admiration than I did as a player. So this is the Philippine Basketball Association, this is the UAAP, this is homegrown talent needs to be found, they need to be developed, and they need to be first and foremost up front if possible. And then with the rules given to you in the league to recruit the Lambs, we also want to take advantage of that as well.
All right.
Yes, of course.
EJ, do you want to ask, or you want to ask something?
Ate Tina,
Huh?
go.
I'm so engrossed in the UST talk. I'm so sorry. being a diehard Tomasian. No, but yeah. Okay, before we proceed with other questions, I would just like to give a shout out to the following people who are big Alaska and Sean Chambers
Sean
fans.
Chambers fan.
So I'd like, yeah. So I'm gonna mention them one by one. Andrew Tan, Patrick Mayo, Harold Santa Cruz, Chris De La Cruz, Prince Goles, my cousin MJ Junio, and Hio Verajano. Big Alaska fans. I just want to say hi to you, Sean. And they're
thank you. Maraming salamat po.
they said you're their favorite import of all time. So there, I can go home alive because I already gave them a shout out.
Okay, so
I'm safe.
yeah, you're safe now. So going back to the question, Sean Chambers.
Yes.
What kind of player are you looking for? I mean, if ever you're gonna be the coach,
Or in general, what
yeah.
kind of
What type of player do you
what
want?
do you look for in a player?
Yes.
I mean, if I can find another Johnny Abarentos and a Jojo Lastimosa and a Ball Hawkins and a French Munoz, then I'm good. And then we'll throw in a Jeffrey Carriazo as our fill hand.
So that would be the standards.
Those are the kind of,
Yeah.
that would be the standard.
And they're going to be growling tigers? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Johnny Abarrientos.
So, and the thing about what those guys, what I'm getting at is that those guys put team in front of everything. Like, we were such a core guys, and so they put our team as nothing breaks the core of the team, and we honor one another, and we play for one another. And that's how you're going to be successful at any level in sports. Yeah. So that's what I'll be looking for. If I can find a Johnny Abarentos, then I'll win championships 5 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you looking to put another Sean Chambers on the team?
Of course.
Champagne, talaga.
But there's only one Sean Chambers, though. Okay, so we have a question from one of our viewers. It says,
Yeah.
so Sean, you already have submitted your letter to UST, but how about your Just Believe sports program and all that you are going to leave behind? To whom are you going to entrust them?
That is a very quick question because I started this program about 18, 19 years ago. Now we're one of the biggest programs in the United States. We're one of 32 teams that is sponsored by Adidas in the grassroots circuit. We have since put over 150 girls into university levels. We won the Adidas Gauntlet Cup last year. So it's a very high-powered program. And then also my job at the Dean of Students. But for Just Believe Sports, that's what JBS stands for. It stands for Just Believe Sports. And what we're all about is empowering young women and motivating them to be collegiate students and to empower and to follow their dreams. So I also believe that'll take care of itself. I have great coaches, like I said, that you would have to need at UST. I have coaches that I trust, that I love, and I know they would do a wonderful job in continuing on my message and my belief in that every kid and every girl should be able to go to college and they should be allowed to fulfill their dreams. So I have people in place, but of course it probably won't be like it is with me because obviously, you know, when you're the leader of the program, it's just never the same sometimes.
Okay, so I'm going back to P-Bay talk. So Grand Slam,
Yes.
Sean, when you're at your prime, how do you think you're gonna measure up against the current generation of P-Bay imports with the likes of Justin Brownlee, who else?
Balkman,
and the new guys? If you were on
Allen
your
Durham.
yeah, Durham, yeah.
And those
So
guys
how do you think you're gonna
was great.
stack up against them if you were during that time, during your prime, versus them
I
now?
always think it's hard to compare eras, but you know, no doubt about it. I feel our era was the golden age of the PBA. I do think these guys are amazing now, man. I watch these PBA games and I'm going, oh my God, I don't remember playing that hard and that fast and that incredible athletic ability that these guys have. And then I got home. Actually, I saw he never play in this, what was it, November against that whole series when I was back in November. And I got back home and like, oh my God, I just don't remember us being that fast and that incredible athletes. And then I got home and watched a couple of old videotapes when we played back in 96 and 97. I was like, well, let me back up. We were that good. So I think we would be able to hold our own, you know. You just, when you get older, you don't remember running that fast and jumping that high and playing that hard. But I do think that translates to how good we were back in those days is that we would be able to hold our own. But I am in awe when I go watch the PBA game right now. I'm just completely just love watching what some of the good imports are doing, and especially some of the great Filipino players that I came to admire. Like, I really became a big fan of Jason Castro the last time I was there. I was like, Jason Castro was really good. You know, I never really chance to get to watch him play. And then also the young shooter for Talking Tex, I was very impressed with him. And then I had an opportunity with Coach Tim Cohn to go to about 5 of the Gilas practices before they played in December. So before I went back to the States, so I was able to see all the big guys with June and Japa and work with those guys, and then all the guards. I was just absolutely amazed by the amount of talent and the size that they have. You know, they're so much bigger than we were. Especially June Marty, right? He's just an amazing talent for his size. So, but I would always put our era against everybody else with Alvin Patrimonio and Jerry Cordillera and Aquino. You know, I would put our era against anybody in the PBA.
Okay, so speaking of Tim Cohn, moments ago, Tim Cohn told, there's this write-up saying that Tim Cohn
is endorsing you.
I mean,
for UST.
Yes, and he said that you're gonna do a great coach because you know the Philippine culture and everything. So how is it like a moral booster for you?
Honestly, I didn't know how that story got out because I didn't want that story to get out until I talked to you guys. I was going to make this like our official announcement. Yeah. So I don't know how that story got out, how he heard about it, or who got a hold of him. But with that said, when somebody sent me the article, a friend of mine sent me the article that he posted that. I had to pull over my car and I actually kind of shed a tear because I was deeply moved by Coach Tim and his words and our connection after, I don't know, almost 30 years now, you know, that our connection has continued to be this close relationship. And it really moved me to tears to read what he said and his support for me. And you know, Tim was like always been my big brother, and you guys are trying to make me cry right now. I'm trying to cry.
I'm so sorry.
But
as opposed to be talking about UST, this is making me a little, you know. Everybody knows that I'm a tough guy, but I'm also got a big soft heart. So I get a little emotional when I think about, you know, the love and support that I got from my teammates over there, and then Coach Tim and also Mr. Ulichenso. So you know, I reached out to him and asked his thoughts about his blessings and about the opportunity and possibly trying to apply for the job. And those two have been just amazing mentors of mine since the day I came in when I started playing like at 24, 25, still to this day at 55. They have still been like my big brothers that I can always call for anything.
Well, any player, coach, I guess, once you get the Team Cone stamp of approval, will turn emotional, right?
Yes,
so,
of course. That's Tim
it's
Cone.
on another level.
The winningest
right?
coach in the PBA, right?
Yeah, right. When you get the number one coach in the country that says the things that he said, and then also the part where he said his career would not be where it is today without our career together is so powerful. Because he's done a lot more after I've gone. So, but that's such a great honor from him to get that from Coach Tim.
Okay, so Ian, you have a question for Mr. 100%? Or are you just as starstruck as I am?
Mukhang starstruck na starstruck si Ian dito.
Oh, sorry.
Sean has that effect,
yes.
So.
But Sean, are you looking for as early as this time? Are you looking for potential coaching staff, members of your coaching staff?
I don't want to get too far in ahead of the game. I will let, you know, once I get to a point where I have an interview or if I get an interview, you know, if I get an interview with USC, then I will start the next steps in far as like coaching staff. But since some of these stories been popping up out of social media and stuff like that, I've received like text messages and from rival players as well as my own teammates that I play with in Alaska. But a lot of the rival players like, hey, go for it. We wish you to go get this job. Don't think twice about it, but go for it. You may get it.
But if ever you got that job, who would be that number one on your list?
Your main assistant.
Who would you like?
Um,
If you can just grab a player and make it as your assistant coach, who would be that for on the top of your list?
That's not fair because I would probably want I would probably want all my own teammates. But I'm
Yeah.
also open to some of the guys that I don't know. You know, I would look into some young guys that are up and coming and that's willing to do what it takes to do all the groundwork and help build the program. And some young guys that are up and coming. You know, you got to give guys like that an opportunity because that's how they're going to start their career. But obviously, I would always lean on my teammates and my coaching friends that I know and for their input and support. Like, what would be the best way to start a program? But and I would reach out to Tim, Shot, Coach Banal, all those guys before me. You know, Jeff Cuddy also, and even Luigi Trillian, and all those guys who've been there and done. I would ask them and their input about how do you really build a winning, successful program. Even one of my first best friends in the Philippines was Frankie Lim, who's been through every level of college basketball. I would really ask him about what is his thoughts of how do you build a program in Norman Black, you know? So
Especially with a team like UST that's really,
Really, what?
really rebuilding because players have left.
Yes.
You know, and
and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with starting with a building program because when you start with a building program, there's only one way but up.
yeah.
And then when you
Exactly.
exceed expectations, that's when you become great. So you put expectations on the team, that's on the way up, and you got guys going. And no doubt, if I was to get the position and had a chance to talk to some of those guys and convince them to stay and stay home and stay with the program and represent UST, I would definitely put all my energy into that first and foremost. But with that said, one of the things we talk about in education all the time is when people and teachers leave to another school or another go to another position, it gives you an opportunity to bring somebody in to help build and make them great. So there's always an opportunity in those situations to make other people great.
Okay.
Very well
So
said. So,
very fun and lovely discussion we're having. Ian, you have a question?
If you get the chance to become the head coach of UST, you will also be facing another foreign coach,
In top.
Baldwin.
Alvin of
Yeah,
Ateneo.
yes.
What are your expectations about that? Competing against a fellow foreign coach,
And the rivalry of UST
Yeah.
and Ateneo.
The Growling Tigers will win.
Oh,
Oh,
Gonna
win?
yeah, of course. Yeah,
Here.
yeah, go step.
Come with our strong line. Yes, we would come like the old teams of the 90s, and we would beat them like they did back in the 90s. We would fear nobody. We would impose our will on everybody. We would be what Tigers do. We dominate. So I got a chance to meet Tab when I was there last time again in November. Nice guy. What I do admire about his teams that I've noticed that there's a little bit more structure and a little bit more attention to details. That's what I would bring to UST. Like we would be very structured. We would have attention to details, and then we would definitely beat the Blue Eagles.
Wow.
Okay, so
With
that's
that
a follow-up question. I have a follow-up question for that.
Okay.
Assuming that you
Yeah.
have beaten the Blue Eagles in the
Yes.
the Final Four, and you're now facing one of the toughest teams.
Sabi ni.
Fighting Maroons.
Sabi ni!
Yes.
Are we gonna start trash talking right now?
For that squad, for that matchup.
Yes. Yeah. So this is Benji Peros' son is on that team still, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And all those guys. So playing days back in the day, it was always LaSalle, Blue Eagles, UST, and FEU. UP was never mentioned back in those days, and
Sorry, Ian.
yeah, they weren't really mentioned back in those days. And that they've done a good job in recruiting and getting these amazing players over there on their side. And believe it or not, I mean, I still, even for the last 15, 20 years that I've been back home, I still follow the UAP every year. So I've been always aware of who's been coming over, who's their stars, and the best players coming out. So I'm very aware of what they're doing over there. And I believe they have a consultant over there too, right? That's an American. They used to
Yes.
play in the PBA.
But just like what Sean said earlier, the Growling Tigers will win over them. All of them.
That's right.
See?
Without a doubt.
Sorry, Ian, wala ka sa studio. Wala ka dito.
That's what we get Ian for not being here in the studio.
Yeah. Kaya talaga, pare.
Yun. Kaya.
So more of Mr. Sean Chambers and of this very fun and UST winning conversation. But do stick around. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Ang Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators o POGO ay isang legitimate business entity na nagbibigay serbisyo sa offshore gaming para lamang sa mga manlalarong nasa abroad sa pamamagitan ng internet. Ang mga serbisyong handog nito ay katulad ng casino games at sports betting na pwedeng laruin kahit wala sa casino. Sa Pilipinas, walang POGO operators. Tanging POGO service providers lamang dahil nagaganap ang mga laro sa labas ng bansa.
Hi,
And we're back here at Athletes Tribune, so it's time to have more fun. So,
question. So, Mr. Sean Chambers, we're now in this segment called Top 5 of the Athletes Tribune.
Sure.
So, going back to your, let's say we're back on the golden era of the PBA.
which is the Alaska Grand Slam.
Yes. And with the roster of the PBA right now, who would be the top 5 players? Who do you think that can survive that physicality during the golden days?
Back in the days, yeah.
Back in the days.
Jumar for sure. I start with him. Then I would go with Japet. His athletic ability is really amazing. Then I'm going to go with Jason Castro. Then I'm going to go with, man, this is a tough one. I still like Paul Lee. I know he's starting to get up in age, but I'm a big fan of Paul Lee. And then, is that 4?
Yeah.
That's
One
4.
more.
I still like LA. LA is such a stud. He just gets it done, you know, even at his age, he's just a warrior. So, those are some, but also like Chris Ross, that's tough.
And you also mentioned Jason Castro earlier, so.
Yes.
Jason Castro, yeah.
So the next one will be a very new question. What would be your top 5 Filipino food?
Easy. Pancit.
Oh, okay.
Tocino.
Tocino, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And let me see. What would be my other? Chicken adobo, of course. And then I can do lechon.
Lechon, okay.
Lechon, yeah.
There are restaurants around UST who serve all those, so.
My gosh, the UST.
We're winning.
See?
Yes, we're winning. We're winning.
Okay, so
Winning is a mindset. You gotta have a mindset to win first, right?
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Yeah, I saw somebody post something like, set your expectations and go get them. Right? Don't be afraid of obstacles. Go get those.
Top 5. What's this? Top 5 import matchup for you. During your age.
Bobby Parks is the best that ever played. And once he started getting older, then I was able to have some success against Bobby. But he's the greatest that ever played. And so then I would go Derek Brown. I don't know if you guys remember Derek Brown.
Yeah, Derek Brown.
And Lamont Struthers. Tony Hurricane was really good.
Yeah.
The only thing about Tony, it was only for like 1 season and a half, 2 seasons. Where Lamont and Derek Brown, they lasted for a long time, and they were able to come back and forth to the PBA. So those guys are probably the 3 that I admire the most: Bobby, Lamont, and Derek Brown.
Do you know those guys, huh, Ian?
I know the new era of the Ray Parks.
Okay,
So
fine.
you didn't even know these guys, yeah.
I remember them very well.
I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah, I remember them very well, so yeah.
Sayang talaga.
Yeah.
So, Sean, let's say you're gonna play in this era, what would be your statistics? I mean, how can you see yourself playing in this new
Yeah.
PBA?
Do you think you'd be able to churn out the same numbers?
Are you still gonna be
Yeah.
Mr. 100% or what?
Absolutely, that's in my blood. That's who I am. I mean, I only know one way. Yeah, and also with that goes with coaching. I only know one way. I only know of giving 100% in everything I do. So that's just in my DNA. And if I don't give 100% in everything I do, as an educator, as a coach, as a mentor, I don't feel right within myself. It doesn't feel right. So I learned that a long time ago from my mother. You always give 100%. And if you don't, you'll feel like, okay, I did not do my best. And I can never sleep or live with myself when I know I'm not giving it my best. So, of course, I feel like I'll be 100% in this era still today. And maybe a little bit more successful because of some of the new rules in the PBA.
So, speaking
So no more hand checking, no more foreign bars, and you got to play defense like this. Kaya, buddy. Wala problema.
So, okay, in connection to that, putting Alaska aside, if you were to play in the PBA today, which team do you see yourself playing for?
Hard one.
Wow, not fair.
I'm sorry.
Aside from Alaska, what would it be?
Yeah, it's hard to play for my rivals, but that's not fair. But it's also not fair because Coach Tim now is with Ginebra.
Yeah, I think that
So
would
that's
be the
also
answer,
a unique
Ginebra.
choice too. So if I was to take Ginebra out of it, the team that I would admire the most, I mean, I love Talking Tech's talent, but I would probably go with Norman Black because of his
Meralco.
coaching ability after playing as a player. The best thing about Norman Black is that also that I can bring to the table as a coach in the PBA or in the Philippines is that Norman Black played as an import, and now he's able to coach. Now he's a great player coach. He's a great player coach. You know, he really coaches for his players.
Okay, so you have any more questions?
Ian.
Yes, putting back Alaska in the discussion.
Okay.
So,
Good.
how would you assess the team's performance today, knowing that they have entered the final several times yet they failed to clinch a championship?
You were once like the winningest team in the PBA, and then now the team is struggling. What do you think is the missing link in Alaska?
What have been some of our missing links? We had a good run with Alex when we got to those finals year after year, and then we just couldn't finish it off. And when those things didn't happen, it kind of weighs on the team that you got to kind of restart and start all over again. And so I was there in November working with Jeff, consulting with the team, and I really feel that we have a really good shot this year. We got some really good pieces. We got a lot of talent on the team. Unfortunately, COVID happened where I felt like we were really going to have a breakout season this year. So if the PBA does open up in the bubble, I really think Alaska has a chance to really perform well against some of the heavy hitters now. So we'll go back to Walapaling to Talasa, Alaska. We'll be back.
The mantra will be back.
Are you looking for there would be a key player that could steer Alaska towards championship, or would it be a collective effort from the team and the staff?
And I think we've always been a collective effort team. That's always going to be our culture, that we do everything as a unit. We're all working together. But I do think Trotter has a chance to really have an outbreak season this year. I really think Trotter can be a very special talent. And I don't know when these rookies are available, but our left-handed shooter that we just got out of the NCAA, I really look forward to seeing him suit up for the team. I think it's like Bondi.
Oh, Brondial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Rodney Brondial.
So
yes.
Let's go to the lighter side again.
Sure.
You've known Tim Cone for years, and he's known for being a very serious coach. Can you give us what is the fun side of Tim Cone, or can you just give us some hint that other people doesn't know about Tim Cone?
Yeah.
Rarely known fact.
God, what can I say about Coach Tim?
That's not gonna get you in trouble.
Of course. We already endorsed you.
Don't get in trouble.
Do you love singing the karaoke?
Yeah.
Really, I think the biggest part of our relationship is that I'm like such a fun-loving guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fun-loving guy, and I've always been a guy that wants to like. I'm always happy. I'm always joking. I'm always kidding, and I'm always kind of goofing around in a good way. And I've always was able to do that with Coach Tim, when other people were not. So and so that would always can kind of help him relax a little bit more, because you're right, he's always kind of processing on to the next move. And sometimes when you're always processing like that, you can't enjoy the moment when you win a championship. You're thinking about the next championship.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about the next tournament. So I think our relationship was really strong because I was always a joker, and I can always make him kind of like have like laughy, jokey moments, because that's just who I am. Everybody knows he loves to read. He reads nonstop, and he wanted to be a writer. I don't know if you guys know that he wanted to write a book. So I'm not sure where he is with that, but I don't know. I used, when we were in our playing heydays, when he would come to practice, I would always call him the crazy guy, and all the Filipino guys, out of respect for their coach, they would never do that with him. Like, oh my God, here comes the crazy guy, and we all laugh about it. And but I don't know. Our relationship was always strong because of that kind of connection. So I don't know if there's anything really crazy, because he's so, I would call Tim like so stoic and generic.
Ian, you have something to tell?
Yes, I have this one last question. Sean, being an Alaska player, you also know, I guess you really know Calvin Abueva as well. And
Yes.
so far, his suspension hasn't been lifted since that incident against Terrence Jones. Being a fellow import as well and an Alaska player, do you think Calvin deserves to be punished for this long, or he needs the ban should be lifted by now?
I'm going to start off with, I don't know the ins and outs of what was the parameters for Calvin when he was returned the first time he got suspended. So when he got suspended this time, it was a very bad act. It put the PBA and even the country, kind of an embarrassing moment across the world, because that video was shown across the world here in the States and on ESPN here in the United States. So Calvin has to own that, and Calvin has to learn from it. But just like I was saying about Coach Ayo, there also got to be a point where we as human beings, we all make mistakes, and there's got to be a chance for redemption. I don't know what the PBA's commissioner have put in place for him to redeem himself, to make a comeback. And if Calvin is following those steps, that is the question. Like, is he following every step the PBA is asking him to do to make a return? We do know this is his livelihood. This is how he supports his family. And so hopefully, Calvin has learned from this. He was such a special talent. We drafted him. I was actually there at the draft when we drafted him. I was at the draft. And so hopefully he gets an opportunity to make a redemption for himself, and he'll learn from his mistake. That we don't want him to be left out forever. Hopefully there is a bounce back.
So,
Thank you.
okay. Sean, for my last question, for you, what?
Yes, go Tigers. Yes.
No, of course, sorry.
I'm the only one.
For
who
you,
knows here.
Fight.
For you, what does college basketball need at this point?
In general.
Yeah, in general.
I love everything about the college basketball over there. I think they do a wonderful job, and I think the fan support is amazing over there. But I want to learn a little bit more of the ins and outs of what's making like certain teams stay on top of the league and compared to the other ones. Like, Antoneo's now been on top of the league for the last 3 years, I believe. And De La Salle was there before. So what are those ins and outs, nuances that help certain colleges continue to succeed, and then some of them never do succeed? Some programs kind of always stay as bottom dwellers. I think, just like the PBA, I think you got to have parity. You got to have, like, where 1 year UST's winning, De La Salle, there's always a chance where everybody has a chance to win. Okay. So parity is important at every level in sports.
Okay, one last, and I think
Sure.
Tina Maralit will help you with this. Can we hear you? do the go uste chant.
Okay, yeah.
Can we hear
Are you
it?
familiar with that?
Are you familiar with it?
I do, but I want to see her do it first.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Miss Tina, you can do it.
Go Ate Tina. Do the go uste.
Yeah.
They might ask me to return my diploma, but yeah, for the love, what the heck? Ghost
No, do it like go uste.
Now I'm shy.
So, Mr. Sean Chambers, may we hear you one?
Yeah, the ghost that oh, see?
Yeah.
It suits
So-
you.
It does. It fits me well. You know, when I was there, also, I used to love watching the best cheer team in the whole country. UST's cheer team was amazing.
Okay.
What can I say?
Okay.
Sorry,
Best cheer team in the country.
Ian. Sorry.
One more run, Sean. One more go uste, please.
Go step.
It suits you.
Okay, so.
Well, honestly, I mean, I would love to be a part of that. I would love to be a part of that organization and be a part of the university and have the whole alumni of UST at MUA, at Araneta, and just rocking the gym like it used to be back in the 90s. Bring back the glory days of Coach Adek. Coach Adek taught me so much about the college game and about the Filipino culture. We need to bring that culture back to UST.
Mhm.
Go Tiger.
Wow.
So unfortunately, we're out of time. So before we say bye to Sean, your message to your Filipino fans.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you for continuing to embrace me and continue to be such an outlet for me as far as basketball and the Philippine culture is. Continue to embrace me. And I just, again, words cannot describe how much love I have for the country and how much I love the Filipinos, what they have done for me and my family, and continue to. So, in any way that I can give back and take over a program like this and help them back to their glory days, I'm honored and will be humbled by the experience.
So thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. 100%, Sean Chambers.
Ian.
And before we end this episode, big shout outs to Daryl Ubana, my teammate from UPLB Athletics, who's watching right now, and also to all the Suyunatics.
Ayun, sinabi
Suyunatics
ko.
lang ang malakas.
Suyunatics.
lang malakas from Bilibid Chapter, Maximum, and Medium Compound.
And of course, to the whole
Right?
Tomasian community.
And
Bomba
I
UE.
guess,
Go Ian.
yeah, I guess that's all the time that we have for now. And once again, Sean, thank you much for accepting our mission.
Man, thank you guys so much. This is my official announcement. So thank you guys so much for giving me the platform for this moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hoping that we'll see you soon wearing that yellow shirt and calling the shots for the UST Growling Tigers.
Yes. Go. All right, guys.
All right.
Go,
Thank you.
Bye, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye. Salamat. Salamat.
And on behalf of the hardworking staff of Daily Tribune, now celebrating its 20th anniversary, thank you guys for watching us. This is Ian Suyu, joined by Mr. David Cubangbang and Ms. Tina Maralit, wishing you a good health and good night. Until the next bounce, everybody. Bye.
Bilang bagong mag-asawa, sabay kami natututo sa buhay.
Sabay rin namin inaaral ng mga bayarin sa bahay.
Kahit kami, nagtaka sa biglang laki ng electricity bill namin. Huwag pong mangambang maputulan. Sinisigurado ng Meralco na walang disconnection hanggang September.
Estimated bills lang ang natanggap natin ng March, April at para sa ilan, May. Dahil sa lockdown, isang tabi to para hindi na maguluhan.
Ang May o June ay actual meter reading na. Kung May nagka-actual reading, ibabawas dito ang huling reading bago mag-ECQ. Yan lang po ang ating babayaran. hanggang 3 buwang konsumo.
Kung estimated reading sa May at June nagka-actual reading, ibabawas din dito ang huling reading bago mag-ECQ. Yan lang po ang ating babayaran. Hanggang 4 na buwang konsumo, walang labis. Tandaan, kung ano lang na konsumo,
Yun lang ang babayaran.
ako po si Mateo G.
At ako naman po si Sargi.
G?
G!
Araneta City, home to the country's first indoor shopping mall, the world's original Thrilla, and the first ever Bini Bini pageant. Now a place for your first win, your first catch, your first home, your first big break, your first date, and even your first love. Araneta City, the city of firsts.
Magsha-shopping na lang ako!
Hashtag 143SM. Call to deliver.
Hello, can I get the following? 1 pink chair, bed sheets, na pink yung sofa, tapos slide, size 8, pajamas na blue. Oh, don't forget my...
Hashtag 143SM. Call to deliver.
Wait lang. Okay ba yan?
Anything at the SM store, ma'am.
Call to deliver. Call.
Kuya, pwede rin ba ako magpa-deliver sa ate ko sa Taguig, tapos sa friend ko sa Davao, tsaka sa... Fiancé ko sa Lipa? Okay ba yan?
Kahit saan po, pwede kami
Call
mag-deliver.
to deliver. Call. Hashtag 143SM. Call to deliver. Hashtag 143SM. Call to deliver. Call. Hashtag 143SM. Hashtag 143SM. Call to deliver.
Call na rin kayo.
Call to deliver.
Good morning, sir. How may I help you?
Bakit kailangan ko pang pumunta sa bangko?
Oo nga naman, sir. Ba't kailangan pang pumunta sa bangko?
Why not get a UB app so you can do all these without going to the bank? Bank the way you live. Union Bank.